morning. How is everyone? Great, great content, great presenters. I appreciate all of you who have laid the groundwork. My name is Patrick Heffel. I work for LucidWorks, and LucidWorks is a company that provides search solutions and transformative digital experiences. I want to do, to sort of wrap things up this morning, let's do a little bit of magic. I'm gonna make 15 minutes disappear. This is a snitch from J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. It first appeared in the first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It appeared again in the final book, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. The snitch that Professor Dumbledore gave to Harry Potter had an inscription on it. It said, "I open at the close." J.K. Rowling knew before she finished the first book how the last book was going to end. There's an important message in that, and it allowed her to allude to some of the content over the course of the entire arc of that series that pointed to how it was going to finish. So what does this have to do with building a search experience? What almost every software engineer will tell you, myself included, is that you always have to start with the data. And this really maps nicely to the way that the things ordinarily go. You start with the data, and then based on what the data tells you, you are able to build or construct the experience that the user is going to have based on what is afforded to you. But what if we have that in the wrong order? What if starting at the data and working through to the experience is backwards? What if you needed to start with the experience and work back to the data? So what if J.K. Rowling had it right and I didn't? Well, she's the billionaire and I'm not, so I figure she must be onto something. So how do we do this, beginning at the end? Ask yourself, how do you want your users to feel after using your system? What do you want your users to think after interacting with your environment? If your users were going to post about your system on social media, what would you want them to say? People sometimes talk about fanatical users. Does that happen by starting with spreadsheets? It doesn't. It starts by understanding your users' needs, wants, and feelings, and making a human connection with your users. We refer to this collectively as personalization. It's not new, of course, but it is one of the leading and most active growth areas in all of human-facing software. So how would we go about creating a sense of connection with our users? One way of creating connection is using their name. Michael, Troy, Jenny. When you hear your name, it creates a link, and that's backed by neuroscience. You create connections by referring to shared experiences. Well, how does that work? A compelling user experience will restore the user's previous context. It will refer to their favorites. It will remember the preferences that they provided to you. Accepting users who and where they are, never judging, never condemning, never criticizing. Who's got an error message? Error! You did it badly. How stupid are you? Maybe I'm the only one that's ever had an experience like that. So let's talk about personalization as a continuum. It starts with no personalization. We've all been there. The user's experience is, I could be any random person. The experience that I get is no different than the experience anybody else gets. A blog is like this. blogs are there to present the author's content, not to tailor it to what you want. Recipe sites are often like this. I think this was mentioned on Tuesday morning. Wouldn't it be nice if you went to a recipe site and it said, oh, I remember that you're a gluten-free vegan and you cook for 2 people, so let me tailor this recipe just for you. No, that doesn't, I mean, if you do that, then let me know, we can talk, but no, that doesn't happen, right? The next step in personalization is feedback boosting. So feedback boosting is wisdom of the crowds. The user's experience here is basically the site knows what's popular generally, and it can tell you what's trending. Of course, you know, you'll see this in Twitter, you'll see this a lot of movie sites, but it tells you at a global level what's popular or what's going on. Next step, semantic vector search. You've been hearing about this all week. So this is, it's personalization in the sense that it's not that it knows you personally, but it does say, I know what you meant, even though it's not what you said. So for example, you're at a hotel website and you enter the chatbot, does this hotel, can I work out at this hotel? The chatbot responds, there's a fitness center at this facility, it's open 24 hours. No one said fitness center in the question, but through machine learning, the association was able to be made that working out and fitness center are effectively synonymous, and so it gives you the sense that it knows you insofar as it knows what you meant, even though it's not what you said. So the last step, which I would call true personalization, the user's experience here is generally the site knows me as an individual, and we are getting more and more close in a holistic way to experiencing this more of the time. You'll see a lot of this in e-commerce sites, and you'll see it in other places as well. But it's recording what you specifically care about and playing back to you through all the channels available. I know you, and I want to deliver to you what you are most interested in. And in the digital workplace context, something we call security trimming is another example of this, where because I am a known user, my rights and permissions are known, and so the documents that I see in a search result are different than the documents you might see in a search result, because I have different permissions and access to different content than you have. One step beyond this, I call anticipatory personalization. A great example, and this is where the system, because it knows you, goes out and finds stuff that you care about, or that it believes you care about, and serves it to you at the right time. Great example of this is Google Maps, where you create a route, and it doesn't tell you there's an accident on the route an hour from where you are. It doesn't tell you there's a speed trap in 90 minutes. It will tell you that only when you need it, if it's still true at the time you get there. I think my wife told me that J. Jill does the same thing, sending, I think you'll like this, and if you buy it now, it's on sale. So, but this is a continuum, and I think the right-hand side of this is only expanding. So let's take an example. At LucidWorks, we have a customer, a global professional services firm, and they used our software to improve the relevancy of their search solution by developing a deeper understanding of who the user is, the user being the employee, and then they took their 10 million documents and wrapped that around the intent of what they were trying to communicate to the users, and were able to improve search relevancy by 43%. Most importantly, they were able to communicate to customers that your time is valuable to me. I care about your frustration at not being able to find the stuff you want. Of course, who's ever had that experience? I'm sure none of us have ever had that experience. And we are willing to invest in a solution that makes your work life easier. According to Infosys, 74% of customers feel frustrated when website content is not personalized. 73% of customers, this according to Salesforce research published just this year, 73% of customers expect companies to understand their unique needs and expectations. 88% of customers believe trust becomes more important in times of change. I don't know about you, but watching election results, these are definitely times of change. And over the last several years, it's been said so many times, these are uncertain times, and being able to build trust is a major contributor to helping people have a sense of certainty and confidence. So as we work toward personalization, having a personalized experience says, I know you, I see you, I care about you, and so I'm going to create an experience that is, that tells you that. That creates trust, which actually creates connection. That connection then results in increased retention. And here's an interesting bit. Forbes published an article in 2017 that describes the relationship between happy employees and happy customers. There is actually a direct relationship between the level of engagement of your employees and the level of engagement of your customers. Therefore, a good personalized experience is actually a customer retention value. And when I joined LucidWorks, I didn't think I was joining a customer retention company, but it turns out I did. So what about your employees? What's your experience of your workplace environment? Does it know you? The lasting impression you want to leave with your users, with your employees is, wow, they really know me. So if we begin at the end, what's your website experience? What about your team meetings? As you imagine the team meeting you're going to have next week on Monday, what do you want the experience of the people in that meeting to be? How about your one-on-ones? What do you want the experience of your direct reports to be when they leave the one-on-one meeting with you? What about your all-hands meetings or trainings and workshops you're going to do? What about when you do a presentation about what you learned here this week? What do you want your users to walk away with from their experience of you? Like Jean-Claude said earlier, what's your one takeaway? So, 3 questions. What do you want your audience or participants to think as they depart? What do you want them to feel as they depart? And what data do you need to provide, or how can you use the data that you have to deliver the experience that you want them to walk away with? Thanks very much for your time. Have a great conference and a safe trip home.